The magical shoes of Willow Woods. It was a warm, golden afternoon when young Emma decided to explore the woods near her home. Willow Woods was a place of mystery and beauty, with tall trees that seemed to touch the sky and soft sunlight that filtered through the thick canopy. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, and the wind carried the whispers of rustling leaves. Emma had always felt drawn to the woods, even though most people in her village said it was a place best left undisturbed. That day, as Emma wandered deeper into the woods than she had ever gone before, she noticed something unusual on the ground. Beneath a thick pile of fallen leaves, something caught the sunlight and sparkled faintly. Curious, Emma knelt down and carefully brushed the leaves aside. There, lying hidden in the earth, was an old pair of shoes. They looked weathered and dusty, as if they had been there for a very long time, but they were still oddly beautiful. The shoes were made of soft, worn leather with golden laces, and tiny symbols that Emma couldn't recognize were etched along the edges. How strange, Emma thought. Who would leave shoes out here in the middle of the forest? She hesitated for a moment, wondering if she should leave them alone, but her curiosity got the better of her. Carefully, Emma slipped off her own shoes and put on the mysterious pair. As soon as she tied the golden laces, a strange, warm sensation spread through her feet and up her legs. It was as though the shoes were alive, humming softly with a magical energy. Before Emma could react, the ground beneath her seemed to disappear, and she felt herself lifting off. Her feet left the forest floor, and she floated just above the ground, her heart racing with excitement and a hint of fear. The shoes were glowing faintly, guiding her deeper into Willow Woods. Emma's heart pounded as she floated through the woods, guided by the strange magic of the shoes. The feeling of being lifted off the ground was both thrilling and unsettling. She had never flown before, not even in her wildest dreams, but here she was, gliding effortlessly above the forest floor as if it were the most natural thing in the world. As the trees around her grew taller and denser, Emma noticed that everything in the woods seemed to change. The sunlight that once filtered softly through the leaves became more golden and magical, as if the forest itself was alive with energy. The trees swayed gently, even though there was no wind, and their branches whispered ancient secrets that Emma couldn't quite understand. The deeper she went, the more vibrant everything became. The colors of the leaves were richer, the sounds of the animals more melodic, and the scent of the forest was sweeter than anything she had ever experienced. Suddenly, the shoes began to pick up speed. Emma held her breath as she was whisked through the trees, faster and faster, until the world around her became a blur of green and gold. It was exhilarating, like riding the wind itself. She laughed out loud, her voice echoing through the woods. It felt like the shoes were taking her on a grand adventure, showing her parts of the forest that no one had ever seen before. After what felt like hours, Emma finally began to slow down. The shoes gently lowered her to the ground, and she found herself in a wide, open clearing. The air here was different, lighter, almost sparkling with magic. The trees in the clearing were taller than any Emma had seen before, their branches arching gracefully toward the sky. In the middle of the clearing stood a group of animals, all looking at her expectantly. Emma's heart skipped a beat as she realized that these were no ordinary animals. Standing before Emma were a wise old owl, a playful squirrel, a graceful deer, and a mischievous rabbit. But these animals weren't like the ones she had seen near her village. They were glowing softly with a magical light, their eyes bright with intelligence and kindness. As Emma stood there in awe, the animals began to speak. "Welcome, young one," said the owl, his deep voice echoing in the quiet clearing. His feathers were a beautiful shade of silver, and his large eyes glimmered with wisdom. I am Sage, the guardian of Willow Woods. It seems that you have found the magical shoes of our forest. Emma's eyes widened. Magical shoes, she repeated, looking down at her feet. The shoes were still glowing faintly, and the golden laces shimmered in the sunlight. Yes, said the squirrel, hopping forward with a playful grin. Those shoes were once worn by the forest keeper, a kind and wise person who protected the magic of Willow Woods. But they disappeared many years ago, and the shoes were lost, until now. The deer stepped forward, her gentle eyes filled with warmth. The shoes have chosen you, Emma, she said softly. They will guide you through the hidden wonders of the forest, but you must use their power wisely. The magic of Willow Woods is ancient and precious, and not everyone is meant to see its secrets. Emma was speechless. She had always known that Willow Woods was special, but she had never imagined that it was filled with such magic. The thought of being chosen by the shoes made her feel both excited and a little nervous. But as she looked into the eyes of the animals, she knew that she was ready for whatever adventure lay ahead. With the magical shoes on her feet and her new animal friends by her side, Emma's adventure through Willow Woods began. The shoes lifted her gently off the ground once more, and she soared through the trees, her heart filled with wonder and joy. The forest around her seemed to glow with life, each tree and plant whispering its own story. The animals led her down secret paths that twisted and turned through the woods, paths that no one had ever walked before. They passed through fields of glowing flowers that sparkled like stars, their petals opening and closing in rhythm with the breeze. Emma laughed as she floated above a sparkling river, its water so clear that she could see all the way to the bottom, where shimmering fish darted playfully between the rocks. At one point, the shoes guided Emma up the trunk of a towering tree, so tall that it seemed to reach the sky itself. She gasped in awe as she climbed higher and higher, her feet moving effortlessly against the bark. When she reached the top, she found herself standing on a thick branch that stretched out over the entire forest. From there, she could see everything, the trees, the rivers, the animals, and even the distant mountains that bordered the woods. "This is amazing!" Emma exclaimed, her voice filled with excitement. "I've never seen anything like this before." The owl, Sage, fluttered down beside her and smiled. "The forest is full of wonders, Emma. But there are still many secrets left to discover." As the day wore on, the golden sunlight began to fade, and the shadows in the forest grew longer. The air became cooler, and a soft mist began to creep in from the edges of the clearing. The animals grew quiet, their playful energy fading as the sun dipped below the horizon. "The night is approaching," Sage said, his voice serious. "And with it comes the shadow." Emma's heart quickened. "The shadow?" "The shadow is a dark force that lurks in the forest," explained the deer, her gentle eyes clouded with worry. "It comes with the mist and tries to steal the magic of Willow Woods. We have been able to keep it at bay for many years, but it grows stronger with each passing night." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. She had never faced anything like this before, but she knew that she couldn't let the shadow take away the magic of the forest. As the mist thickened and the night deepened, a sense of urgency filled the air. The forest, once alive with warmth and color, now felt tense and shadowy. Emma could hear the soft rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl, but it all seemed muffled, as if the very air had thickened. She stood with her feet hovering just above the ground, feeling the gentle hum of the magical shoes beneath her. She knew that whatever this shadow was, it was close, and the creatures of the forest were depending on her to protect the magic that bound them all together. "The shadow is no ordinary force," Sage the Owl warned as he flew beside her. His feathers gleamed silver in the fading light. "It feeds on the magic of the woods, and if it grows too strong, it could drain the forest of its life force, leaving everything dark and barren." Emma swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her new responsibility. She was just a child, after all. How could she possibly stand up to such a powerful force? But then she remembered something her grandmother had told her long ago: true strength doesn't come from size or power. It comes from the heart. With renewed determination, Emma nodded at her animal friends. "I'll do whatever it takes to protect Willow Woods," she said. The shoes seemed to sense her resolve, glowing brighter and lifting her a little higher into the air. She could feel their magic strengthening, guiding her toward the source of the darkness. As she floated through the mist, the forest became eerily silent. The trees that had once whispered friendly greetings now stood still, their branches heavy with an unnatural gloom. The light of the shoes cut through the darkness like a beacon, and soon Emma spotted movement in the shadows ahead. A tall, looming figure seemed to drift between the trees. It was wrapped in darkness, its shape barely visible, but its presence was unmistakable. The shadow was not just a being of the night, it was a creature of sadness, loneliness, and loss. Emma could feel it in the air, a heavy weight pressing down on her chest as she drew closer. But instead of feeling fear, Emma felt something different, a deep, aching sadness. The shadow wasn't just an enemy, it was a lost soul, wandering the forest, searching for something it had forgotten. Emma's heart ached for the creature, and in that moment, she knew what she had to do. Taking a deep breath, Emma floated closer to the shadow. The mist swirled around her, thickening as the figure turned toward her. She could see now that it wasn't truly menacing, it was simply lost. "Hello?" Emma called softly, her voice steady but gentle. "Why are you here?" The shadow stopped, its form shifting slightly as if it were surprised by her question. For a moment, there was only silence, but then a low, mournful voice echoed through the clearing. "I am alone," the shadow whispered. "I have wandered these woods for so long, searching for something I can no longer remember." Emma's heart broke for the creature. It wasn't trying to steal the forest's magic, it was seeking something to fill the emptiness it felt inside. Without thinking, Emma floated closer and extended her hand. "You don't have to be alone," she said softly. "I can help you find your way." The shadow hesitated, its form flickering as if it were uncertain. But then, slowly, it reached out toward Emma's hand. The moment their hands touched, a soft light spread between them. It wasn't the bright, magical glow of the shoes, but a warm, golden light, a light of understanding, of kindness, of connection. The shadow shuddered, and then, to Emma's amazement, it began to change. The darkness that had wrapped around it like a cloak slowly lifted, revealing the figure of an old man. His face was lined with age and sorrow, but his eyes were soft and full of gratitude. I was lost," the man said, his voice trembling. "I wandered these woods for so many years, searching for a way home. But the longer I searched, the more I forgot who I was, until I became nothing but a shadow." Emma smiled gently. "You're not lost anymore. I'll help you find your way." With the power of the magical shoes and the strength of her kindness, Emma lifted the old man into the air, guiding him above the misty forest. The trees below seemed to shimmer with renewed life as the darkness began to fade, and the stars above twinkled like tiny lanterns lighting the way home. As Emma flew with the old man across the forest, she could see the village in the distance, a small, warm glow nestled at the edge of the woods. The man's eyes filled with tears as they neared his home. He had been lost for so long that he had forgotten what it felt like to belong somewhere. "Thank you, child," the man said, his voice full of emotion. "You've given me back something I thought I had lost forever, hope." Emma smiled softly. "Sometimes, all we need is a little kindness to find our way again." They touched down gently at the edge of the village, the shoes carrying them effortlessly. The man looked at Emma with deep gratitude, but there was also a sadness in his eyes, as if he knew that this magical journey was coming to an end. As they stood there together, the glow of the shoes began to dim. Emma felt the magic slowly fading, like a candle flickering out at the end of its wick. She looked down at her feet and realized that the shoes had done what they were meant to do. They had guided her through the wonders of Willow Woods, helped her protect its magic, and now, they were ready to rest. Emma gently slipped off the shoes and held them in her hands, feeling the last traces of their magic humming softly beneath her fingers. The old man placed his hand on her shoulder, his eyes twinkling with a newfound joy. "You've done more than you know," he said quietly. "You've not only helped me, but you've saved the forest as well." Emma nodded, her heart full. She turned back toward the woods, feeling a deep connection to the magical place that had given her so much. The animals, who had been watching from the shadows, slowly approached. Sage the owl swooped down, his silver feathers gleaming in the moonlight. "The shoes have chosen well," Sage said with a nod. "You were the guardian Willow Woods needed." Emma smiled, but there was a bittersweet feeling in her heart. She knew that her adventure had come to an end, but the memories of Willow Woods, the glowing rivers, the whispering trees, the talking animals, would stay with her forever. With a deep breath, Emma carefully placed the shoes back under the tree where she had found them. The forest seemed to hum with quiet approval, as if it, too, was saying, "Goodbye." The shoes glowed faintly one last time before their light faded completely, and they became just an ordinary pair of shoes once more. But Emma knew they were far from ordinary. They were a symbol of the magic that lived within Willow Woods, and the magic that lived within her. As she walked back home, barefoot but with a heart full of warmth, Emma glanced back at the forest. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, their branches whispering a quiet farewell. She smiled, knowing that she would always be welcome in Willow Woods, even without the magical shoes. The forest had given her more than just an adventure, it had shown her the power of kindness, the strength of connection, and the magic that exists in the world if you only know where to look.